Let's get straight into it. Number 1. The silence before memory. You lived it, years of it, but when you look back, there's almost nothing there. Not really, just scattered fragments. A face at the edge of a swing set, the sound of a toy clattering on tile, a fleeting warmth you can't explain. It's like your own life began mid-sentence. This isn't just you. Most people can't remember anything before age 3 or 4. It's not forgetfulness, it's architecture. The brain simply wasn't wired yet to keep those memories the way it does now. This is called childhood amnesia, or more technically, infantile amnesia. A blank page where your earliest chapters should be. Before your brain could write in full paragraphs, it only scribbled impressions. And even those got buried under everything that came next. Here's why: the hippocampus, the part of the brain responsible for forming long-term memories, is still under construction in early childhood. Same goes for the prefrontal cortex, which helps organize memories into a timeline. It's like trying to save files on a computer before the hard drive is installed. Instead of storing events as episodes, with a beginning, middle and end, young brains prioritize different things. Learning language, building emotional bonds, mapping danger and safety, survival stuff, emotional stuff, the moments you felt the most, those are the ones that sometimes slip through. And here's something to try. Think back to your first memory. Really think. Is it something you actually remember living? Or is it a photo someone showed you? A story retold over and over? Your childhood is still in you, but not as a movie, more like a haunted house of echoes. Before we go further, subscribe and comment down below where you're watching from. It's always fascinating to see how far these quiet questions travel. Number 2. Memory that was never meant to last. Your brain in early childhood is focused on survival, not storytelling. It's busy building a framework for what's safe and what's unsafe, not crafting detailed autobiographies. That's why even if something happened 100 times, like bedtime stories, a certain lullaby, or a favorite snack, it might be completely gone. Meanwhile, a single overwhelming moment, like getting lost in a store or hearing a loud argument, can stick like glue. The developing brain is an emotional sponge, but that doesn't mean it archives everything. It reacts, learns, and adapts, often by deleting. When a child feels emotionally overwhelmed, the brain may simply refuse to turn that moment into a memory. Think of it like an automatic filter for survival. Too much sensory input, the brain cuts the footage. This filter becomes more intense in unpredictable environments. A child growing up surrounded by stress, instability, or emotional neglect might remember less, not more. The brain isn't defective, it's being strategic. It's trying to keep the child functioning. It prioritizes survival and regulation over recollection. It trims away what's not useful, and sometimes what's too painful. But even in calm, loving homes, most early memories still fade. Why? Because the young brain was under renovation 24/7. Neural connections were forming and pruning like vines in a storm. A toddler's memory is written in wet cement, constantly reshaping. Most of those memories never got the chance to dry and set. That's why only the emotionally charged ones might survive, those with a flood of joy, fear, sadness, or awe attached. Number 3. When gaps start speaking. You grow up, and the gaps grow with you. As you reach your teen years or adulthood, you might suddenly realize how little you remember. People talk about shared childhood moments, and you nod along, but nothing lights up in your mind. It's not denial, it's absence, a blank space where something should be. This isn't rare. In fact, it's more common than most people admit. When you try to fill in those gaps, your brain gets creative. It reaches for photos, stories you've been told, movies, even dreams. The result? A patchwork. Some of it real, some of it borrowed, all of it convincing. You might picture your 3rd birthday, but you're really picturing a photo of your 3rd birthday. You remember the memory, not the moment. That's how false memories get built. Not because you're lying, but because your brain wants a story, and when it doesn't have one, it makes one. This doesn't just happen with distant childhood, it can happen with last week. Memory is not a fixed file, it's a file that rewrites itself every time it's opened. Every time you remember something, the act of remembering can distort it. Each recall leaves a fingerprint, and over time, the original gets smudged beyond recognition. These smudges become identity. You act based on what you think happened, even if it didn't happen that way. You fear things that might not have occurred. You trust people based on a memory that isn't fully true. Memory shapes behavior, not because it's accurate, but because it feels accurate. It feels true. That's the paradox. Even fake memories can have real emotional consequences. Number 4. Why you remember so little. You forget, they remember. Same family, same house, different memories. Why does it feel like you lived through a blur, while someone else recalls every tiny detail like they filmed it? Not all brains store the past the same way. For some kids, life felt steady, soft mornings, quiet dinners, calm routines. Their brains didn't flag these moments as important, so they faded, days blurred. Emotions didn't spike high or crash low, so memory didn't stick. The brain saved its resources for when things mattered more. But others lived in a different kind of house. One with moods that shifted like weather, silence that meant danger, and footsteps that made the air tighten. These kids became radar systems, tracking tone changes, body language, the creak of the floor. Their brains recorded it all because it had to. It wasn't about remembering birthdays, it was about staying safe. That's hypervigilance. A nervous system trained to survive, not to relax. Every memory feels sharp, vivid, sometimes haunting, not because they were special, but because they felt urgent. It's not better memory, it's a learned alertness, a life lived in defense mode. Then, there are those who cope the opposite way. They floated, detached. They learned to numb instead of notice. Their mind muted the world so they could stay afloat. The cost? The memories never settled in. They are scattered, out of order, or missing entirely, not by laziness, not by choice, but because their brain chose to protect them from feeling too much. And some people, they just remember more. Maybe they were emotionally sensitive. Maybe their brain latched onto feelings more easily. A comment, a look, a smell, it stuck. Some brains are glue, others are sand. Neither is wrong. Number 5. Why the silence matters. You might feel like your past is a puzzle with missing pieces, and the more you try to find them, the more they slip away. But here's the truth, not remembering doesn't mean nothing happened. Silence can be a scar. Childhood amnesia isn't just a memory gap, it's a signal. Sometimes your brain didn't store the early years because it was too focused on survival. Sometimes it didn't see anything important enough to save. And sometimes it buried things deep, on purpose. But what's buried doesn't stay gone. It comes back as anxiety, as reactions you don't understand, as habits that don't match your current life. Your body holds on to stories your mind forgot. Emotional memory can linger even when episodic memory vanishes. You flinch at tones that sound like old arguments. You tense up at a smell that brings nothing to mind, just a wave of discomfort. These aren't ghosts, they're traces, echoes of something real. Some people spend years trying to dig out the details. Some never get them back. And both paths are valid. The goal isn't to remember everything. It's to understand how your brain tried to protect you and what that means for you now. So if you're left with only fragments, don't dismiss them. That flash of a hallway, that sudden feeling of shame, that dream that won't go away, they matter. They're pieces of a story your brain didn't forget, it just told it differently. If you liked this video, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below. Tell us which one creeped you out the most. We'll see you in the next one.